you're dragging her. Go! All right, come on. Here we go. Green, 14, 21, go. Look, they're taking Don's kid. Right. Don! Don! Come here, quick!
Sorry, Melinda. Let's let them take him. Thank you. Come on, kid.
Look, deputies, they're taking your kid. Get the boy back. Get out of my way. Back to his friend. Don, you can't do it. Be in contempt of court. I'm this kid's father.
This is just a temporary order. It doesn't give them permanent custody.
Then why are they taking him?
The grandparents have filed suit. They've somehow convinced the judge that they should have temporary custody pending litigation.
Why?
Don, if you don't let them take Tim, you're going to jail. Come on, Tim. You'll have a good time with your grandpa.
Bye, Daddy.
Goodbye, Timmy.
Judd, for the defense. Judd for the defense.
Judge could just take my kid away from me.
No, not capriciously. Although I remember a case where the court awarded custody to the grandparents because the father led the life of a bohemian artist.
Well, what's wrong with the life of a pro football player?
You'd be able to answer that better than I would, Don. I'm no authority on your personal affairs. But I suggest that you talk it over very honestly and frankly with your lawyer.
All right. Then you're my lawyer, okay?
No. You don't want me in a custody proceeding. It's not my brand of bourbon.
Wait a minute. You got money invested in this team, and they got money invested in me.
Which is exactly why I want you to have an experienced specialist, and I'll get you one. So, hang loose, hmm?
Yeah, if I get any looser, I'll just fall apart.
Are you going to take the case?
Since when do I take custody cases?
Spent a lot of time with Don. We're late for our 4:30 appointment.
I know. That quarterback is as spooky as a racehorse.
custody suit for Don, but you know what I'll bet?
What?
If Don's wife hadn't have been killed, by this time he'd be handling his divorce.
Just $3 worth. I'm in a big hurry.
What's that for?
Melinda, I got a job to do.
John, you're not going to take any more.
Energy, baby, energy. I gotta be bright tonight. Bright and fast.
John, you're out of your mind.
Right. My son gets stolen from me. You think I'm going to stay nice and calm?
Why don't you tell me what you're up to?
How's kidnapping sound?
Pretty ridiculous.
You bet it's ridiculous. The man has to kidnap his own son.
John, you're going to make an awful lot of trouble.
You coming with me?
You're being stupid.
Okay, son. Stupid. Come on.
I'm going to go in and I'm going to call them and warn them.
Melinda! Honey, please.
No,
Come with me,
John.
please. Please, please, baby. Come with me.
John!
Hold me tight.
I mean, look, we're in first place, and it's all due to Don Oliver. So for Pete's sake, take the case, will you? Don trusts you. Nobody but you. And don't give me that malarkey that you don't take custody cases.
Max, I don't take custody cases.
Well, can't you make an exception?
Look, I'm getting him the best custody lawyer I know. And let me say something else. Melinda, stay away from Don.
What do you mean?
If the grandparents intend to show that Don's moral character is not such that he should be entrusted with a child you're seeing a lot of Don is not going to help matters.
Well, you should have seen him yesterday. If I hadn't been with him, he would have been in jail by now.
And furthermore, I don't like your implication, Judd. We've all been friends for years. Why, my daughter was babysitting for them when she was only in her teens.
Yes, I know. She was babysitting for the Olivers on the night Don's wife was killed, wasn't she?
Well, so what?
So take my advice, will you? I don't mean there's anything wrong between Melinda and Don. I just mean that this is a sensitive situation, and Melinda should be discreet.
You won't take the case, but you're free to give advice.
You've got me there, partner. But I'll tell you what else I'm free to do, since I'm not taking the case. I'm free to talk to the grandparents. Maybe I can find out what's really on their minds.
Here's Mommy in high school. She was class orator.
What?
That means speaker.
Oh.
Oh, and here she is in college. She was captain of the hockey team.
Gee.
Here's Mommy when she got married. Isn't she pretty?
Yeah.
She was such a happy little girl when she was young.
Wasn't she happy when she was old?
No, Tim.
Why?
I can't say. It was after she married your father.
My daddy makes her unhappy?
He did, Tim. He did. He made her cry and cry.
Sweetheart, I wouldn't say that.
Why not? Is a boy to grow up and not know the truth all his life? Here. That's the very last picture ever taken of her.
My mommy was drunk. Boy, did she drink.
Well, now, Tim, if your mommy did have a drink every once in a while, she had a very good reason to.
Alice, never mind reasons.
You know what my father did once? He threw empty whiskey bottles at Mommy. Then he pushed her in the pool.
Now, Tim, that's enough of that.
Boy, did she splash.
Tim, afternoon. Lindsay, I'm Clinton Judd. Saw you at the stadium yesterday.
Mr. Judd's a lawyer.
Owen's part of Don's team, Miss Lindsay. Could we talk a little?
No, we couldn't.
Well, Alice, we could certainly talk.
We have a lawyer, Mr. Judd. He said not to say one gall darn word.
Well, what's your lawyer's name?
Not one gall darn word is his name. Tim, you go play. Come on, vamos. Philip, supper.
Beautiful pond.
Philip.
Yeah, trouble is, I raise earthworms.
Does that cause trouble?
Well, the earthworms make the garden grow like a jungle. And every leaf wants to fall no place else but in the pond.
So, Lindsay, I imagine a man like you would have to feel very strongly against another man to try to take away his son.
I told my reasons to the judge.
Wouldn't it be only fair to let Don know what they are? If there's any mistake, give him a chance to correct it. A lot of people feel that Don's a pretty fine fellow.
That's like with some crimes. People are always saying afterwards, how could he do it? Such a fine fellow. Eagle Scout, altar boy.
You say crimes, Mr. Lindsay. Did Don ever commit a crime?
Philip! Will you please get Tim and come to supper?
I'll tell you one thing in plain English. He's a skirt chaser. Yeah. Well, sometimes one thing leads to another. Excuse me. I'd better find Tim.
Well, hi, Tim.
Hi, you're big. You play football?
Oh, I did. College. Nothing like your father, though.
My father has brains. What were you? Defensive back?
Something like that.
Yeah, they're big and dumb.
How are you getting along here, Tim?
Okay,
Your father said to say he misses you. He's going to see about getting you back with him.
I'm not going back.
Like your grandma's cooking too much, huh? Is that it?
No, my father cooks just as good as her. Maybe better. You should see.
Your daddy just can't be home all the time? Is that the problem?
No, because when he's not home, Linda's there.
Then don't you want to go back home to live with your father?
I can't go back.
Why not, Tim?
Because Grandma and Grandpa told me I can't. There's some reason. Someday they'll tell me what it is.
Now, you listen to me, young man. You get inside the house this minute. Right now. Go. Mr. Judd, if you will stop snooping and get in your car, it won't bother me one bit.
Mrs. Lindsay, I can't imagine what you could have to hide from any snooper. Unless it's the way you're trying to teach that boy to hate his father.
Oh, you're a smart man. I guess if we were all as smart as you, we'd all be lawyers. That boy should hate his father.
Please tell me what reason you could possibly have to say such a terrible thing.
Do you know how his mother died?
She died in a fall. From some part of her own house. The balcony, wasn't it?
But you don't know how she fell.
By accident.
Was it an accident? Or was she pushed?
Who pushed her?
You're a smart man. You figure it out for yourself.
Gentlemen, ladies, I beg you not to get me into any more trouble, if you please.
So what trouble are you in, Mr. Schellenbach?
Well, wasn't I foolhardy enough taking a case against Clinton Judd without holding a press conference here in his own bailiwick? Now, let me put it this way, gentlemen.
I understood the Lindsays had hired a new lawyer, but Schellenbach.
Plaintiffs are rich in only one thing, love for their grandchild. Defendant has behind him the vast resources of a professional football team, including the services of Clinton Judd. Now, I came into this case just to even things up.
Like a mealy-mouthed, blue-bellied
Two
son of
fastest
San
breeds in the
Francisco.
West. Shoot it out.
Why do you suppose he
Right,
is taking
Mr.
it?
Schellenbach?
Oh, I'm gonna ask you.
Hey, here he is. Texas Longhorn of the law, Clint. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Say, Clint, I want to ask you something in confidence. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Clint, can you get me 2 tickets to Sunday's game?
You don't mean that. Well, you know you'll have your case won and be back in the city well before Sunday.
Are you kidding? How can I get a kid away from his natural father with you representing his father? I don't have a prayer.
Well, what are you doing on the case?
I can answer you in one juicy word.
Money?
Well, what money the Lindsays can't pay my usual fee for filing an eviction notice. No. Clint, the word is challenge. Clint, with your name and my name, this has to be the custody case of the century.
Well, tell me something in confidence, Shelley.
Yeah, sure.
What is your case?
What case could I have? The usual best interest of the child, McGilla.
You're not aware that your clients have a very angry bee in their bonnet regarding my client?
Certainly I'm aware, but you don't think I'm stupid enough to present it in evidence, do you? You would clobber me, old boy. Does that answer your question?
Thanks, Shelley.
See you, Clint.
Well?
We're in trouble.
May it please the court. The plaintiffs call Melinda Grayson as a hostile witness.
How do you like that publicity, Howard? First crack out of the box, he calls a hostile witness.
Yeah, who does he think he is, Clinton Judd?
Your Honor, I have 2 photographs which I would like to show the witness simply as a matter of identification. Miss Grayson, do you recognize this person?
Yes, I do.
Who is it?
It's me.
It's a picture of you skiing, is that right? Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Where?
At Fern Valley.
This is also a picture of you skiing at Fern Valley?
Yes, it is.
And who is the man on skis beside you?
Don Oliver.
Thank you. Your Honor, I wish to enter these in evidence.
May I see the photographs, please? Your Honor, I submit that the costume of the young lady cannot help but have a pejorative effect.
Court is not such an antique that it considers the wearing of a bikini a pejorative matter. That is, unless a wearer is of a basically unseemly nature, photographs may be entered.
Miss Grayson, when these photographs were taken, and you spent 2 weeks at Fern Valley in company with Don Oliver...
Objection! Objection sustained.
When you spent 2 weeks at Fern Valley, and when Don Oliver spent 2 weeks at Fern Valley, whether you saw each other or not, was Mrs. Oliver alive?
Well, the reason we went there was...
Just a minute. Was Mrs. Oliver dead or alive?
She was alive,
No
but...
further questions.
Miss Grayson, do you go skiing very often?
As often as I can.
Do you also go surfing?
Yes, I do.
What kind of costumes do girls wear when they go surfing? Evening gowns?
No, they usually wear bathing suits.
Do girls ever wear bathing suits when they go skiing?
In the springtime at certain places, if the sun is quite warm and there's still plenty of good snow, then I'd say, yes, you could wear a bathing suit. Although at this particular time, I not only froze, but I took a beautiful spill and got quite a snowburn.
Oh. Now, you said that Mrs. Oliver was alive at the time.
That's right.
Where was she? At home?
She was in Fern Valley.
And how did you happen to go to Fern Valley?
I was taking care of Timmy.
On the morning those photographs were taken, where was Mrs. Oliver?
In her room.
How long had she been in her room?
About 3 days.
3 days? In her room? In beautiful Fern Valley? You mean without coming out at all?
She was sick.
You mean sick in the sense that she required a doctor?
No, I mean sick in the sense that she was drunk.
Objection.
Sustained.
May it please the court.
Witness will confine herself to answering questions.
But, Your Honor, I submit that this is precisely what the witness has done. Thank you, Miss Grayson. No further questions.
Is your testimony that the child's father is usually away from home? Whether away on trips with the team, or at night games, or at practice, or just away?
Yes.
Huh. Would you please tell the court in your own words what other facts made you feel that this lawsuit was absolutely necessary?
Well, after his mother died, Tim had all kinds of trouble in school. He lost weight, and at night, so often he'd have nightmares and wake up just crying his heart out.
What, if anything, did you and your husband do about that?
We had Tim examined by the school psychologist, with his father's permission, of course. I have the report right here.
Your Honor, I can hardly cross-examine a piece of paper.
Your Honor, I will not only produce a psychologist, I will produce 2 doctors, the playground supervisor, several teachers and neighbors to make absolutely clear the decline of this child's health.
I will accept the report, subject to plaintiff's producing the psychologist.
Thank you. Now, Miss Lindsay, after Tim came to stay with you, did his health change?
Oh, yes. Now he's tan and just as happy a little rascal as he can be.
How's his appetite?
Oh, fine. I love to cook. I bake all our bread.
Would you please describe your home?
Well, we have lots of land around. There are plenty of children Tim's age in the neighborhood, and I have help in the house, so I don't get too tired.
In other words, you don't have pressures on you like a football quarterback.
Objection.
Sustained.
I mean, I don't lose my temper the way he lost his temper. If I may be allowed to say that.
Will Your Honor allow that?
Yes, I'll allow.
Thank you. The defense may cross-examine.
Mrs. Lindsay, did you ever see Don Oliver beat his son?
No.
No. So although you've referred to Mr. Oliver's temper, you've never seen any evidence of the child's being physically mistreated, have you?
No, but I wasn't there all the time.
Miss Lindsay, would you agree that there's a difference between raising a child and raising a stalk of corn? That is, that there's more involved than height and weight and so on. That the most important consideration is whether there's love between the parent and the child?
Yes.
Would you say Don Oliver loves his son?
I suppose so.
And does the son love his father?
No.
Tim doesn't love his father.
How could he after what happened on that night?
What night are you referring to?
The night my daughter was killed.
The night she was killed by a fall from the balcony?
Yes, sir. That night.
No further questions.
The court would like to talk to the child, and to prevent the child from being distracted or affected by the presence of spectators, I will direct that the courtroom be cleared. Hello, Tim.
Hello, Judge.
Would you sit here, Tim? Tim, I think you're old enough to understand what this is all about.
It's all about who I'm going to live with.
That's right. And would you like to tell me who you want to live with?
Well, I'm not going to live with my father.
You're not? Why not?
Because he killed my mother.
He did what?
He killed her. He pushed her off the balcony.
I knew it. They brainwashed him. That's why I wanted to get him away from there. I knew they'd do it. What's the use of talking? Take it easy.
Okay. Your Honor, may I have a moment with the child?
Yes.
Tim, why did you say your father pushed your mother off the balcony?
Because he did.
Did you see it?
No,
Then how do you know what happened?
because my grandmother told me.
Will Your Honor grant a brief recess? right, Don. Which pills this time? The ones that calm you down or the ones that pep you up?
I am trying. Don't ask me why, but I'm trying not to take any.
I'll tell you why. That would be a very good idea, because I have a question, and I want the answer from you, not from the pills. Come on. Don, I want you to tell me exactly how your wife died.
She fell from the balcony. She was home alone, and she fell.
Where were you?
Out of town with the team.
Was there an autopsy performed?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Clint, there wasn't. As I remember, she lived long enough to be attended to by the neighborhood physician, and he signed a death certificate.
All right. Don, how much do you want to keep that boy of yours?
How much? He's all I've got.
You may have one chance. It'll mean opening up the question of your wife's death. But you'll be running a very, very serious risk.
What risk?
I know Schellenbach. He's got something on this question. If he didn't, he never would have let it come up in court. He's challenging me to try and prove you didn't cause your wife's death. If I try it and fail, you're going to lose a lot more than Tim. If I try it, we can expect observers from the district attorney's office. And if I fail, at the very least, you'll be indicted for murder. That's the risk.
Suppose I don't take the risk?
The way this trial stands right now, I'd say probably custody will be awarded to the grandparents, and that'll be the end of it.
Well, what do you think I should do?
Don't ask him. Don't ask anyone. You're the only one who knows what's going on in your mind.
Look, it's not just that I want to keep my son. As God is my witness, I don't want him to spend his life thinking I killed his mother.
Don, what do you want me to do?
Take the risk.
I'll ask you once more. Did you have anything whatsoever to do with the death of your wife?
No. No, I did not.
Then we'll go ahead on that basis. You'd better be telling the truth. May it please the court. The motive in bringing this suit is alleged to be plaintiff's concern for the welfare of the child, Tim Oliver. However, it is now very clear that the real motive is the absolutely unfounded notion that defendant caused the death of their daughter. Therefore, the specific charges of neglect can now be discounted, and I move that this case be dismissed.
Your Honor, if plaintiff's notion is not unfounded, if Donald Oliver is in fact responsible for the death of his wife, he shouldn't have custody of the child.
Both attorneys will approach the bench. Gentlemen, it would be a highly unusual procedure to turn a civil suit into a murder trial in effect. However, my sole concern is for the welfare of the child. If there is any basis for the charge that his father caused the death of his mother, this would have a great deal to do with the welfare of the child. I will therefore hear this issue. Furthermore, since a crime may have been committed, I will request the district attorney to have a member of his staff present here. Court is adjourned until 10 o'clock tomorrow. Mr. Judd, since we are proceeding on the basis of your motion for dismissal, the burden of proof is on you. And in view of the delicate nature of this matter, the courtroom will remain cleared.
Are you ready? Defense is ready, Your Honor. We call Miss Melinda Grayson.
On June 29th, I was supposed to take care of Tim at the Oliver's house. And I was there earlier in the day, but I left that afternoon.
Why did you leave?
Mrs. Oliver was drinking too much.
You mean she was drunk?
Objection.
I'll rephrase it. How would you describe her condition?
She was staggering and stumbling all over the house.
When did you decide to leave?
It's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. She was still drinking, and she began calling me names and accusing me of things that I never did.
By things, you mean improprieties with her husband?
Yes. I didn't want Timmy to hear all that, so I just took him and left.
Where'd you go?
I drove him to his grandparents, where I turned him over to them.
Did you explain to Mr. and Mrs. Lindsay why you found it necessary to do this?
Yes.
And you told them that their daughter was screaming drunk and stumbling all over her house?
Yes, I did.
And what, if anything, did they say?
Nothing. They just sort of looked at me the way they're looking now.
No further questions.
On the night of June 29th, the team was staying at a motel in Dallas. I checked my backfield in as they always do. After dinner, Don and I talked strategy a while. After that, we watched a little TV and he went to bed.
Did you see him again that night?
Yes. I always make regular bed checks when the team is on the road. I keep a pretty good watch on them all through the night.
So, it's your testimony that on the night Mrs. Oliver died, Don Oliver was in a motel bed 243 miles from Houston?
That's right.
Mr. Schellenbach, you may cross-examine.
I have no questions for this witness.
Thank you. You step down. Your Honor, I would like to point out that at this time we have established two critical factors. First, Don Oliver was nowhere near his wife on the night she died. And second, she was, of her own doing, in a condition such that she may have fallen to her death without help from anyone. It is therefore unreasonable to believe that the defendant caused her death. And I renew my motion for dismissal.
Your Honor, this is not a criminal trial. As yet, Mr. Judd knows perfectly well that our obligation is not to prove his client guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but to prove that my clients do have reasonable grounds for their terrible suspicion. And this I will do, if I may proceed.
Mr. Schellenbach, you may.
My name's Ernest Barlock. My occupation's private detective.
Dwarlock, kindly tell the court your activities, if any, on the night in question.
I was engaged by Mrs. Oliver to keep her husband under surveillance for information pertinent to a divorce. On the night of June 29th, I was outside the motel where the team was staying, in Dallas. He was inside.
And then what happened?
Well, he came out, got into a car, and took off. I took off.
Where do you go?
A little town about 12 miles out of Dallas. There's a motel there. It's called Quiet Springs.
Mr. Oliver registered there?
Under the name of Hugh Johnson. Then this girl came along. She went into the same unit he did. About 55 minutes later, they came out. He drove off. She drove off.
And you followed him?
Back to Dallas.
And he went back to the motel, did he? In Dallas?
He did not. He took the 11:45 plane for Houston.
You say you heard screaming from the Oliver house?
Oh, we often heard screaming.
Specifically at 1 a.m. on the night of June 29th. You heard Mr. and Mrs. Oliver in a loud-voiced altercation?
Oh, yes. I had to shut the children's window because they were awake and laying bets.
What bets, Mrs. Merrill?
Well, they were betting whether or not he'd knock her off the balcony.
Objection.
Of course, that's where she was found later.
Objection, Your Honor.
Objection sustained.
No further questions.
Mrs. Merrill, did you actually see Mr. and Mrs. Oliver quarreling on the balcony?
Yes.
You saw Mr. Oliver?
Well, you see, we have this patio right next to their pool, and when they bought flagstone, we bought flagstone because it's cheaper. And from our patio, I could see a corner of their balcony.
Mrs. Merrill, I'll repeat. Did you see Mr. Oliver?
Well, no, but I heard his voice.
Well, how do you know it was his voice?
Oh, I know. His voice has such wonderful resonance.
Well, now, isn't it possible that you might have heard some other man with a resonant voice?
Well, I guess it's not exactly impossible.
That's all, Mrs. Merrill.
But what about the man I saw not 20 minutes later?
You may step down, Mrs. Merrill.
Standing in front of the window. Now, I saw him that time.
Will the court order those words stricken as unresponsive?
Just a moment. I'd like to examine the witness myself. Would you take this pad and pencil, Mrs. Merrill? Thank you. Now, Mrs. Merrill, I'm going to ask you a question, and I instruct you to write your answer in exactly one word. Are you ready?
Yes.
Was the man you saw at the window Mr. Oliver?
Thank you. Let the record show that the witness answers yes.
Look, Joe, is that the way for a guard to pull out on 42? He's not supposed to hit the end on his play. He's supposed to hit the tackle. Now, look, he doesn't hit anybody. Beautiful.
Max, where's Doc?
He's inside sleeping. You have to bother him now?
No, I can bother you.
All right, gentlemen, that's all for tonight. I'll see you first thing in the morning. 9 o'clock sharp, Joe.
Tell me something, Coach. Who's been coaching you?
In what?
Perjury.
Now, listen, Judd. I testified under oath that I always make regular bed checks when a team is on the road. That happens to be true.
You implied very clearly that Don was in Dallas all that night.
Don't put me in jail for implying.
So, are you willing to go to jail for Don? What else are you willing to do for
What
Don?
you got in mind?
I know your feelings about him. How'd you feel about Mrs. Don?
No comment.
She was ruining his game.
He was ruining his life.
And your daughter's life?
And he get no argument there either.
All right, Max, let's go on. Let's go all the way. Did you fly to Houston that night? Max, were you that man in the window?
No, he wasn't. Leave him alone, Clint. He was only covering for me. And I was only trying to keep my son. Can we help it if we both drop the ball?
And thanks to those pills, it doesn't seem to be bothering you.
So what can I do about it now?
I don't know. Maybe too late now. Don, I warned you of the danger of turning this case into a murder trial. You told me you had nothing whatsoever to do with the death of your wife.
Okay. I told you a lie.
Your Honor, I call Don Oliver, the defendant. Don, I'm going to ask you to forget that you're a father with custody of your son and the balance here, and put out of your mind the men from the district attorney's office hanging on your every word. And possibly I can put out of my mind the fortunes of a football team in which I've invested a fortune.
Let's go.
Don, tell the court the simple truth about that night.
Melinda called me from Houston about what happened with my wife and Tim. She'd been through the same thing a few times before, and she just couldn't take it anymore. She said she was flying up to Dallas. She wanted to talk it out with me, so I met her.
At the other motel?
Yes.
Why did you rent a room there?
Well, for her. So she wouldn't have to fly around all night, but she wouldn't stay.
Why didn't you go back to your room?
Because I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep unless I took too many pills, and then I wouldn't be able to play the next day. So I thought there had to be some answer. Divorce, maybe. Maybe if I gave her everything she wanted, we could get some understanding. And Houston was only 45 minutes away by plane.
So you flew back to Houston?
Yeah, yes. And made that scene on the balcony. Romeo and Juliet.
Can you describe your wife's behavior?
No. That would take, what? Maybe a psychiatrist. I just couldn't talk any sense with it.
What, if anything, did you do then?
Well, I had to get back to Dallas. But I was afraid to leave her alone in that condition. Actually, I'd only made it worse by going there. So I did what I could to quiet.
You did exactly what?
I put a couple of my sleeping pills in her drink.
And then you did exactly what?
I left.
Was your wife quiet when you left?
Quiet. I could still hear her screaming at me as I turned the corner.
Are you sure you didn't stay another 20 minutes, meanwhile appearing in a window so that a neighbor could see you there?
No. I gave her the pills and I left. That was enough to make her fall off the balcony.
Do you believe that 2 sleeping pills could cause such an accident?
While she was drinking, they could.
So you feel responsible for her death?
I am responsible.
I didn't ask you if you are. I asked if you feel responsible.
Yes. Even if it cost me my son. Yes. Yes. You told me to tell the truth.
And so you have. As far as you know the truth. Plaintiff may cross-examine.
Your Honor, my talent cannot possibly match Mr. Judd's for bringing out the whole unvarnished truth from the lips of the defendant himself. I simply submit it makes little difference to the welfare of the child if the child's father caused the death of his mother by physical means such as pushing or chemical means such as sleeping pills. Now, what action the district attorney will take, I do not know. I expect he will take some. I therefore ask the court to award custody of the child.
Mr. Schellenbach, I haven't finished.
What other witnesses can you possibly call?
I can call one of the plaintiffs. Mr. Philip Lindsay. Mr. Lindsay, I know you to be an honest man. I will ask you only straightforward questions. Why are you trying to take Tim away from his father?
I guess everybody knows that by now.
You believe he caused the death of your daughter?
Yes, sir.
But before the evidence brought out in this trial, what made you believe it?
There didn't seem to be any other way she could have fallen.
No other way than by action on the part of Don, is that it?
That's it.
Mr. Lindsay, what about the 2 occasions on which your daughter attempted suicide?
No.
You say no, Mr. Lindsay? Your daughter never tried to do away with herself? Shall I refresh your memory by hospital records obtained under subpoena?
She didn't mean it.
She didn't mean it? Your daughter was only pretending suicide?
Yes.
Not to draw attention, gain pity, frighten her husband?
She was only trying to save her marriage.
But didn't she try it both times by means of an overdose of sleeping pills?
Yes.
And didn't it occur to you that she had tried it again with perhaps an increased dosage and that possibly this was how she fell to her death?
No.
Why not?
Because after those 2 times, we never let her have any sleeping pills.
By we, you mean who?
Doctor, the neighborhood pharmacist who filled Don's prescriptions. Don never left any pills around the house. My wife and I, Lord help us, we'd go through our own daughter's house like thieves to make sure there were no sleeping pills in it.
And are you sure, Mr. Lindsay, that there were none on the night she died?
Are you telling me that there were?
You may step down, Mr. Lindsay, and we'll find out. Your Honor, I call Mr. Bernard Sandro, the neighborhood druggist.
Yes, I would say it's true of a lot of pharmacists in business for themselves. I work long hours.
And make deliveries at odd hours?
For regular customers, sometimes in the middle of the night.
Did you ever happen to make such a delivery to the home of the defendant?
Quite a few times.
Did you happen to make such a delivery on the night of June 29th?
Yes, I did.
Would you describe the circumstances, please?
Well, it was very late, but I was still in the back of my store working on bills. And Mrs. Oliver called me. She said Don had to have some sleeping capsules. And would I bring them over? So I did.
Without prescription?
Oh, no, sir, no. I always had current doctor's prescriptions on file for Don Oliver, renewable in small quantities by special arrangements.
You saying that you believed Don Oliver to be at home on the night of June 29th?
Certainly. How should I know? I don't follow the team's schedule. But on the way, I turned on the car radio to catch 5 minutes of news. And there were some sports items. And I heard Don's team was playing in Dallas the next day. So I began wondering.
Did you express your doubts to Mrs. Oliver?
Yes, I did. I said, how is it that Don's home, and didn't he go with the team? And she sort of mumbled, no. So I said, could he come down for a minute? And she said no. And then she just took the medication vial out of my hand and went upstairs.
You say she mumbled. How else would you describe her condition?
Well, whenever she took a step, she had to hold on to something.
As though she were under the influence of sleeping pills?
I didn't know that. Now, all I knew was that I could smell liquor on her breath.
Well, after you were left alone in the living room, what, if anything, did you do then?
Well, I walked back and forth for a few minutes, trying to think of what I should do. Should I follow the woman up to her bedroom? No, not me. Besides, I'd only let her have 2 sleeping capsules, which is not a dangerous dosage. So I decided what I'd better do was just leave. And I left.
You say that those 2 capsules were not dangerous. But could those 2 capsules, taken shortly after 2 more, cause sufficient dizziness to result in a fatal fall?
Yes, sir. That could happen.
And, Mr. Sandro, when you were left alone in the living room and walking back and forth, did you happen to pause in front of a window?
I must have.
So that if a neighbor reported seeing a man in the window at approximately 20 minutes past 1, could you have been that man?
I guess I was.
Thank you. You may step down. Your Honor, I move again that this case be...
Judd! Would you allow me to do that? Your Honor, as attorney for the plaintiffs, I move this case be dismissed.
Case dismissed. Clerk will return the child to his father.
Congratulations, kid.
Thank you. Thank
Geez, I was sweating that one out.
Thanks, Mac. Me too.
Good luck,
I
Tom.
can't thank you enough. We got love enough. Hi, Tim. Hey, smile, buddy. We're back in business again.
Do I have to?
You mean you don't want to come live with me again?
No, I don't. Timmy, he killed my mother.
No, Tim. No, he didn't. We were wrong, Tim. Terribly wrong.
That's what you say now, but I don't believe it. I believe what you said before.
Clint. Why does he believe it? Doesn't he know me any better than that?
How can anyone know you, Don? So when you're tranquilized, you're one man. When you're stimulated, you're another. No one can know you, Don, as long as you stay on the pills, not even your own son.
Hey, Clint, you call it rough play. Man, I mean rough.
Call your own play. You're the quarterback.
I'm so sorry. So ashamed and so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It wasn't exactly all your fault. I've got a few things to straighten out. They're going to take a little time, you know? So would you take care of Tim for me for a little while?
Oh, Schellenberg wants talking.
Yeah? What's on his devious mind?
Why do you think that he made that motion for dismissal?
Oh, a gesture of professional courtesy, possibly to impress my young colleague with the ethics of our profession.
Are you kidding? He thought you'd get him a couple of tickets to Sunday's game.